Hello everybody, it's Anna from CV Labs and we're back talking about job search and careers. Today I'm excited to announce that I'm launching a new video series. I know that you guys enjoy watching my talking head, sharing career advice and personal stories. Now I want to bring even more value to you. I'm excited to invite business leaders, decision makers, experts and influencers to share real-life experiences and multiple perspectives from different industries. This series will focus on the topic of the future of work. So we'll be talking a lot about how you can stay ahead of the curve, adapt to all of the rapid changes that are happening, and make the most out of your career. I'm excited to bring top minds together to have interesting, thought-provoking conversations, share real-life stories, and provide practical insights. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. So subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit the bell so that you are the first to see my new video every week. So let's get started. So today I'm happy to introduce you to my first guest, Jon Olsen, who is the founder and CEO of Olsen Consulting. His company provides cutting-edge business intelligence and software integration solutions and focuses mainly on the construction industry. Jon is a real pro when it comes to implementing automation solutions, which means it's going to be really interesting to hear his perspective on what the future of automation brings us, how you guys can stay competitive on today's job market, and what employers will be looking for in job candidates. Jon, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be part of the program.
You know, I always love hearing entrepreneurial stories, and I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching us are also curious. How did you start your own business?
Well, it started about 8 years ago when I was a controller for a local construction company. And they were looking for someone to help out while they were going through a system implementation. And I found that there were some opportunities for me to be a part of that and to help them out. So I started learning everything about the system and the processes and the industry, and ended up taking over the implementation role and implement the system for a number of subsidiaries, along with the help of the team, and found it was something that I had some abilities, some skills there, and developed a real passion for helping people get the most out of their ERP systems and really set up their information to provide them with actionable directions for their firm. So something that I really enjoyed, was happy to be part of it. So I started building out the team, building out the network, and just started growing the business.
That's awesome. You've come such a long way. Jon, I'm always curious to ask this question. What is the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
There's been quite a few, but one that I reflect on frequently is when I was told to lead without title. For me, well, the situation where that came up was when in my department, in the accounting department, we were having bad information sent to us through just what we considered to be a faulty process in another department. And so my approach was to go to our mutual manager and say, well, I've got this problem over here. Can you help us out with that? And his response to me was basically, go figure it out on your own. And essentially, and they said, you need to learn the concept of to lead without title. For me, that was novel. I was fairly recently out of school, and so I had to learn how to develop these skills for influencing and trying to help people achieve their objectives. No one wants to have a bad process or bad data. They want things to work right. It's just they might not know how to get there, or they might not understand the implications of the process they have in place. And so it was a chance for me to work with cross departments, cross-functionally, to collaborate with other people and come to a solution that worked out the best for everyone.
I love that advice, and I feel like so many people actually believe that they can only lead when they're given that formal permission, like now you have a manager title, so go lead people. But actually, You're right, you don't need a title to be able to influence others. Now, Jon, let's talk a bit about COVID. It's hard to avoid this topic these days. Have you noticed any important trends post-COVID in the way how your clients run their businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. We all want this whole COVID thing to end as quickly as possible. It's terrible as that, you want to find the silver lining to it, and hopefully there's some good things that will come out of it. One of the trends that I've noticed is certainly a little bit more working from home, and I think there could be some good things that come out of that. In the position or the consulting company that we have and the services that we provide, we often travel to client sites, and maybe we do that a little bit too much. And, you hear about the odd meeting where you fly across the country and you sit down there for a meeting for a day and then you fly back. There's some waste inherent in the way that we used to do business with this heavy reliance on this face-to-face interaction, a little bit more than probably was necessary. So I think that we've now have the chance to rethink that and what made us feel that was necessary, and I think there's going to be some benefits to this new concept of being able to work a little bit more remotely.
So John, a lot of people, when they hear the word automation, they immediately think, I'm going to lose my job. Like, robots are going to take over, and what am I going to do then? You're an expert in the world of automation. So what are some of the ways or some of the skills that people need to develop and strengthen to stay in higher demand and not be worried that their job will be eliminated?
The world of automation is this really big topic, right? So if we just focus on things that I've been part of over the last 10 years or so, then it's a bit more manageable of an idea or a topic. From my experience, people who are in a particular role where they have that fear that their job's going to be automated and they're scared they're going to lose that job, there's two main ways where they can approach that. And the first is that they can be a part of the change. So instead of having this fear that 30 or 50% of your job's going to be gone and maybe they find a way to automate the rest, you recognize that you have a functional area of expertise in something specific. And the project team generally doesn't have that specific or that in-depth knowledge that you have. And so now you have that chance to be a part of that team, to provide them with that knowledge and potentially help them with implementations, help them with process improvements. And that's how I started. And the other way is to use the saved time that you have. So let's say 30 or 40% of your job is potentially automatable. You can now take that saved time to provide value to the company in ways that aren't currently being done. So for example, let's say you're an AR, like an accounts receivable specialist, and your job is primarily to do things that can be automated, typing information to a system or something like that. Well, I would say, well, sure, take that part away from what I do right now and let me focus on profitability, day sales outstanding, and credit checks for the customers, and all these different things that maybe aren't being done to the extent that they could be. And now you have the time to do that.
Yeah, and I love that point that you mentioned about embracing the change rather than resisting it. So it does sound like it's important for people to be a bit more strategic in how they approach their role and how they look at their function being part of a bigger picture. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. You might feel like maybe you're part of a company and they say, we don't really value those things, or we have other people who can do it. I mean, there's so many things that need to be done in the company. Like no company's perfect. There are opportunities there that the automation of your manual, non-value added functions, you take those away. There are areas where you can provide value to that company. It's just a matter of finding them and developing those skills.
John, as you know, I speak a lot about job search and career advice. As a person who is a decision maker and a business owner, what is the number one skill? If you had to pick just one, which I understand might be challenging, but anyways, if you had to pick that one skill that you look for in people, what would that be?
The top one would probably be that they have become amazing at something. So they've seen that there's a difficult problem, there's something that's hard to achieve, and they've learned the body of knowledge necessary to attack that problem. They've applied intelligence to it, they've used all the resources available to them, and they've tackled a very difficult problem, and they've become in the top 1% of the world in some particular ability. Because if they have that ability, now hopefully that area of expertise translates to something that we're looking for. We do have a lot of clients, and so they, generally speaking, it's going to fill some need. But even if it doesn't, if they've proven that they can become amazing, top 1% in something, that's going to give us confidence that we're going to be able to give them new tasks and new applications, new challenges, and they're going to figure, however they were able to achieve that level of excellence in the first thing, they'll be able to figure it out in the new challenge that we give them.
So developing that kind of in-depth expertise at one particular thing, or like a niche subject, and becoming really an expert at it.
Absolutely, because there's this idea that we should focus on breadth and understand everything, but if you have to choose between being in the top 50% of 10 things and the top 1% of one thing, it's my opinion. I'd prefer that you have that 1% in something, because those are the top tier, excellent kind of people that we want to have on the team.
And when you're looking at different candidates and kind of comparing things and trying to understand whether that person would be a great fit, what are some ways, maybe one or two, that they could show you, given that you only have like minutes to look at their resume or find them on LinkedIn, what are some of the ways how they can demonstrate that they have become that 1% amazing at something?
Yeah, so people will give you a list of projects that they've been on and they've accomplished, and the number one thing you want to look for is that they know everything about that particular problem. So it may be something that's not exactly related to the position that they're trying to apply for, but they'll know every little detail of that project, and that will be proof that they really understood the fundamental problem and they were able to come up with a solution for it. If that's difficult for them to explain, which sometimes happens in interviews, what you look for next is some sense of curiosity, that they had a problem that they were faced with, and rather than being deflated and thinking this is just it's an insurmountable problem, I give up, I move on to something else, they were more engaged, and they thought this is interesting now. Now I'm motivated to learn something new and apply this, all these different concepts and tackle this very difficult problem.
Okay, so that does sound like curiosity would be your number two after that in-depth niche expertise.
Yeah.
So if you had to also add a number three, throw it in on top of that, what would that be?
So I'd probably put trust in there as number three, just because it comes up all the time. You develop relationships with your clients, your colleagues, third-party subcontractors, and it's important that you make promises, you deliver on them, that people can trust your competence and your ability to successfully complete projects. It's integral to every aspect of working on the team.
So Jon, we've covered quite a few things today. So if there was maybe one main takeaway for our audience, what would that be?
Well, when it comes to process automation and finding jobs and trying to make yourself continue to be as marketable as possible, the main takeaway would be to just try to be extremely proficient in some area and be open to new opportunities to learn new things and enhance your skill sets. If you happen to be unemployed, well, this is your chance to take some courses and find your passions and dive into that, whether it's whatever the subject area may be. And if you're employed, well, look within that company for ways to add value, being a part of the project team, or just helping a little bit more out in your department, and show your employer that you have that desire. So there's never going to be a bad outcome for enhancing your skill sets and trying to just continually improve yourself, and that idea of continuous learning.
So Jon, before we wrap this up, I've prepared some fast questions, like a blitz round. So just hopefully you can answer really quickly without too much thinking, because I'm really curious. There are some tricky ones in here. Talent or persistence?
Really quick answers. So I would say talent, just because I think there are some problems they're too difficult that no matter how much time you spend on it, it's going to be tough. And so you need to have find an area where you have an innate talent and focus on that. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to push through a problem that's just not your area.
Okay, hard skills or soft skills?
A lot of that's based on not so much choice. I think it's kind of personality, but if you had to choose, well, there's a lot more positions. You're going to be a little bit more marketable with the hard skills, and so if it's a decision between those, then probably the hard first. Develop the soft skills later.
Okay, but still hopefully aim for a combination, some kind of a combination
Yep.
of both. Okay, extensive experience or a new, fresh perspective?
Yeah, you can be in a position for a long time and not really learn a whole lot. So experience, it's sometimes good, but I like people who have that desire, that passion to learn new things. And so I'd probably, if I had to, go with a fresh perspective.
Awesome. Niche focus or diverse background?
Yeah, so I definitely say focus on the niche first. Just nail one skill, be amazing at one thing first. It's good definitely to have an understanding as to what's out there as well, just a brief understanding, but don't let that detract you from being excellent in at least one thing.
And can I ask you a follow-up question for that?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the main asset for someone who does have a diverse background? Because people come in with very different experiences, and some of them were exposed to different industries and they've kind of seen a little bit of everything. So what would be a smart strategy for them to be really marketable and compete with the people who have a really high niche focus?
Yeah, so there are positions. I mean, you can do that as well, and there are positions that are more focused on having a wider array of skills. A business analyst, for example, is someone who generally understands the business and the system and the accounting and the some breadth is a lot more important there. And so if you really it's not in your skill set or your natural ability to dive deep into one thing, then there are positions that focus and appreciate breadth more than depth.
Okay, and the last one, passion or following your strengths?
If I had to pick just one, I'd say passion, just because I feel that being strong in an area is absolutely important, but generally speaking, your passion is going to turn into your strength, and you're probably not going to be too strong at things that you're not passionate about. So hopefully they're one and the same, and you can find a way to make some money at your passion.
Jon, thank you so much for sharing your strategies and advice with us today. I feel like this was an amazing conversation, and I know people will get so much value out of this. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Guys, I would encourage you to connect with Jon on LinkedIn. You can also visit him at his website, olsenconsulting.ca. So feel free to reach out and connect with him. And if your company is looking to implement automation solutions, I think Jon is your guy. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have questions or feel like sharing some thoughts in regards to the things we talked about today, start typing in the comments below. I will link to Jon's website in the description below as well. If you liked today's video, don't forget to hit thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for my next video. I'll see you again soon.